Bridge has become a very popular card game in South Florida. So coming up next, Business Report producer David Weir talks with Delray Beach professional bridge player and teacher Larry Cohen, who also wrote a book, a best-selling book, on the game. Dave asked Larry how he got his start.
Well, the business itself was after I was in college and realized people would pay money to play bridge with me, either as their partner or teammate, and I couldn't believe it, that something I love to do, they were going to pay me money to do.
That's right, and you've been in the professional bridge business as a player for a long time, and it's kind of like you told me before we started taping, it's kind of like being on a PGA golf tour, and that's the way, tell me, explain how exactly you got involved with it.
Well, there's tournaments every week, and there's some major tournaments every year. That's where the big money is, and these tournaments go on all throughout the country, and believe it or not, they're not for prize money. Everyone assumes it's for prize money.
Right.
But there are some very wealthy people who want to do well, and they will pay their partner or teammates to play in these tournaments, and that's what I do.
And they call you up and say, "Hey, Larry, listen, I want to put together a team." And then the big question is, how much is it going to cost? And what do you tell them?
That's right. Well, I have to tell them the price. And see, it's not like I'm a baseball player with an agent who does all this for me. I would actually be on the phone myself and say, "Okay, this is the going rate, and this is what I want for the year." And
well, some of the top players, where they run around 6 figures a year or more.
Oh, sure. The very good players, the best in the country, will make well into the 6 figures doing this.
Wow, that's pretty good. You know?
Sure.
Well, so do you go all over or have you gone all over the world doing all this?
Sure. Most of the tournaments are in the United States, but every year there's a world championship, so some of the tournaments are outside of America, outside of the States.
Yeah.
Sure.
So they call you up and say, "Hey, Larry, I need you in Monaco, right, to play it for
Well, it's funny you mentioned Monaco, because that's where one of the best teams in the world is right now. You didn't even know that when you said Monaco.
No, I just took a shot there.
Right. Well.
And, well, you know, some of the Wall Street guys, you know, the big money guys up in Wall Street have been known to be big money bridge players. Did you play with these guys?
Sure, some of them. A lot of the people at Bear Stearns, for example, would be on bridge teams, and I played with some of them. And a lot of, I guess, the biggest money guy in the world plays bridge, Bill Gates, although he hasn't decided to come big time into teams, although he does play in all the tournaments.
So he hasn't called you yet, right?
Not yet. Well, we've spoken.
Well, we hope
We've spoken, but he's not ready to start doing this. I think he's a little bit involved with other things at the moment.
Well, right now you kind of got off the circuit. You know, you got kind of a little road weary going all over the world playing bridge, didn't you?
You're right. It's a very stressful thing to do, to be going tournament to tournament and staying in hotels and eating poorly, sleeping poorly. So about 5 years ago, I decided that instead of being in a ballroom playing bridge for the rest of my life, I would like to branch out and do more teaching and writing, and that's frankly one of the best decisions I've ever made. It's such a better lifestyle for me to make my living from this part of bridge instead of playing in the tournaments.
Well, you wrote a book. How did that happen?
Well, about 20 years ago, there was one particular topic in bridge, and there's thousands of bridge books, but there was one topic that I happened to know a lot about, and I decided to write about it. A good friend of mine had taught me this topic, and I wrote about it, and next thing I know, it was a best-selling bridge book. It was a big surprise to me.
Wow. A bestseller playing bridge.
Yeah, I didn't know the first thing about writing, but I was in the right place at the right time.
Well, was it translated into all over the world, into foreign languages or anything?
It was in a lot of languages, including Chinese, and I was thinking to myself, well, there's 1.4 billion people in China, and if every one of them bought this book, but I'm still waiting for the royalties from China. Nothing's really happening there.
Well, is there a lot of bridge players in China?
It's becoming more and more popular now. I mean, back in the communism years, it was frowned upon, but now it's becoming big in China, and there are a lot of tournaments in China, and I'm hoping for a big explosion there in bridge.
Well, hey, listen, you got to stick around. I want to do some commercials here, but I want to also talk to you about the exploding bridge phenomena in South Florida and how you're handling that. That's a pretty good deal for you. So stay with me. I'll be right back. Okay.
Okay.
All right, and stay with us. We'll return right after these words. We're back. We're talking to one of the top bridge players in the world, Larry Cohen, who lives in Delray Beach, and who's kind of retired from the bridge playing circuit and is now he's an author, and he's also engineering some really great seminars on bridge. How come in South Florida the bridge explosion is happening?
Well, I guess it has to do with age. Let's face it, bridge is something you can do at any age, and that's one of the beauties of the game. And as people are getting older, they've retired here. They would play golf when they were 60 and tennis. Now they're in their 70s and 80s, and bridge is something you can do your whole life, and it keeps them sharp. Frankly, I've met some of the sharpest, even 90 and 100-year-old people who've been playing bridge. It just really is the thing to do down here for the retirees.
Well, this demographics is very favorable, obviously, in South Florida. And you're right. The 50s and 60s are out in the tennis court and golf course, and then in their 70s, that's what happens. They get away from the physical stuff, and they get involved in bridge, which is really amazing. Well, what do you get involved in teaching the bridge?
Well, I don't teach to beginners, which is a whole nother field.
Right.
I teach people who've already know how to play the game to improve and to get better. And part of the teaching is not just how to get better, but just to enjoy the game, to have some stories and have fun with it. And it's
don't take yourself too seriously when they're
exactly. And people realize they're not going to become a world champion when they're in their 70s or 80s, but they can still improve. And the camaraderie, the social aspects are just incredible. If you're a bridge player and you lose your spouse, say, you still have a big circle of people to be with, and it's just so popular.
That's very prevalent. When we lose a spouse down here, it gets very lonely. And bridge is a wonderful, wonderful situation where you can meet other people and be active.
Absolutely. If you play bridge, you can go anywhere, and you have a group of people to be with, either at home or traveling.
Well, when you get, you mentioned that you host cruise ship bridge things. What's that all about?
Well, that's become popular recently, is with cruising, especially in South Florida, being so popular, people can just hop on a ship and they're in the Caribbean, and it's not like these people are going to go to the beach. They're really pretty much on the ship as a floating resort, and they have a bridge program, and this has become much more workable than being in a resort hotel on land. To get on a ship, have the meals, the shows, and the bridge program on the ship. So there's a lot of that going on.
Well, how many people do you usually host on a bridge cruise?
Well, you're limited by the amount of space on the ship, but some of these big, humongous new Oasis of the Seas. We had 400 people once on a bridge ship.
Wow.
And that needed 100 bridge tables, 4 at a table.
Well, how did you, Larry, how do you handle that with 100 bridge tables?
Well, we had a staff. I was the lecturer, and they would listen to the lecture in the morning. But then they would go play bridge, and we had a staff of about 20 people who would run the bridge game for them during the day and the night.
Oh, okay. Well, when you do these seminars, is it not only in cruise ships, but is it around gated communities around usually in South Florida?
Oh,
There are
sure.
numerous.
Yeah, there's so many country clubs here where bridge is the main activity. They're running out of space. A lot of these country clubs don't have enough room for the bridge tables. And
they were never designed for that, you know.
No, the golf course is empty and the bridge tables are full. So, yes, a lot of these country clubs will have me come in and do, like every Monday morning, I'll teach for 6 weeks in January, February.
What's usually the fee for that?
Well, the people who come will pay maybe $30 to $40 for each lesson, and they'll take 6 lessons, so times 6. It's not that expensive.
No.
And I'll do like 6 weeks at this club, 6 weeks at that club, and it's a good living, and I enjoy it. That's the thing, David. It's so I love doing this, and when I used to play in tournaments, and I'd win a tournament, and they'd say congratulations.
Right.
That was nice. But now when I teach people and they come to me after the lesson and say, Larry, I loved it, that's so satisfying. I love it. I'm so
that's
happy.
great. You know, also when you were on the tour, so to speak, you know, you got paid win or lose. So that takes a little strikes a little piece out of the action there.
Well, I was very competitive, though. It was stressful, but even so, how many more tournament? If I win one more tournament and have that on my gravestone, big deal. But whereas now I'm influencing really thousands of students every year, that's so satisfying.
Yeah. Well, listen, Larry Cohen, God bless you. Thanks a lot for being here. You're, in 27 years you've been on the Business Show. You're the first professional bridge player that we've had on the show, and this is just absolutely terrific because I had no idea the explosion of the bridge game down here in South Florida, and it's just going terrific.
Well, I hope I'm not the last professional bridge player.
All right.
Thank you very much.
All right, Larry. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
And stay with us. We'll return right after these words.